Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Risa Morimoto, your host of Dream Retirement in Mexico. Today, my guest is Dr. Aaron Bryant. He is a developmental coach, a retired developmental coach, and mental health expert. He resides in the United States, but also goes to PV a lot, and then also Thailand and the Philippines, and basically living the idyllic retirement life. I wanted to have him on board today because he's learned some really great hacks and tools and tips on how to make life in Mexico easier. I think that he's really learned a lot of lessons that will be really valuable to you. So I hope you're going to stick around and listen. If you're really seriously interested in moving to Mexico, relocating, retiring there, I invite you to join our free webinar. Basically, in the webinar, we talk about all the most popular places people are moving to for foreigners. We talk about real estate and the basics of buying real estate in Mexico. And then also Pamela Thompson, a healthcare expert, is going to talk to you about some of your healthcare options as a foreigner. All you got to do is go to dreamretirementinmexico.com/webinar to register for free. And if you're liking these videos, I invite you to subscribe so that way you're in touch with us whenever we post a new video. So let's get to my talk with Dr. Bryant. Dr. Bryant, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Now we're going to talk all things kind of PV, US, maybe even a little Thailand, Philippines in there. But you're quite the traveler. And I think the life that you've created for yourself is something that many, many people are very envious of, including myself. But today we're going to mainly focus on PV and how basically have been able to establish yourself there and still kind of go back and forth, right, from the US to Vallarta. But before we kind of get into all of that, if you could give me a little bit more of your background, right? So where there's a little bit of context, what you do, and kind of what kind of inspired this idea to actually even go to Mexico.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting story. So we have to keep that one for another show. I retired in 2019, and having the blessings of being able to retire early, I just wanted to take advantage of an opportunity after my divorce and just get out. A lot of it had to do, to be very honest and transparent, and people, if anybody even heard of me at this point, knows that being a mental health advocate, working in this field, that was also something for myself. So for me, traveling is the reason. So finding Puerto Vallarta, that was basically part of that whole search of tranquility. And I felt that I found it there. However, I don't limit myself to just Mexico, because as you said, I go to different places, but Puerto Vallarta is somewhere special, so I tend to make that sort of the second home in addition to some other places, but that's basically where I put most of my energy into.
And you also mentioned that you lived in Bucerias, which is about 45 minutes north of PV.
Yeah, well, that's where I actually landed. Interesting enough, I did an Airbnb there. That's where I ended up being. At the time, it was not as congested and a great place to be. I literally had a system. When I finally started settling into PV, I would basically get up, go to the gym. I'd walk to the gym. Then I'd go do my coffee, relax. Then I'd go back to my condo on the beach, shower, grab my music pill, my umbrella, my chair, my cigars, walk downstairs. And I sat there for about 5 to 6 hours. And I did that Monday through Thursday, every day for about 2.5 months. And you notice I said I stopped at Thursday because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the locals start coming out. So I would basically do that about 4 to 5 days a week. And I did that consistently. I had a lot of things that I wanted to just kind of just get out of my system and relax and just kind of digest everything. And Bucerias gave me that in the beginning until I realized when I started meeting friends and started getting out after around the 4th or 5th month, I just realized that it was a little far away. Then when I bought my vehicle, after that, I could travel a little bit more around the PV area, but still, Bucerias is not around the corner, even though the entire region is fairly small compared to bigger cities and states. But I felt that I had to pick up, and after about a year, I did that.
Right, right. Well, I guess Bucerias is great for those people who want that kind of small town feel. I know that's building up a lot, but if you are looking to go to PV every day, then
Yes.
that's a whole
Absolutely.
different
That's
story.
exactly correct. Yeah. When I started meeting people, started going out, it changed the dynamics of everything. But, right now PV is known. There's a lot of people over 60. They like to be in that isolated area, that region over there. If you really want to obviously get away, obviously you can go further north and you can go to Sayulita, San Francisco. But Bucerias, and La Cruz are very good spots to kind of not be too far away, but far enough.
Right, right. If you don't want the hustle and bustle of also of the tourism and all that that's happening in Vallarta, it's
Yeah,
kind of it's a little bit of a quieter place. And I think Bucerias, as you were talking about before we got on the call, has been growing
it's,
tremendously. I was there, I think 2017,
uh,
and it was
you
nothing.
won't even recognize it. There's like all the beaches are now the condos. I mean, it has literally the dynamics, the change. Downtown is stuck. It's not the same little down central Bucerias anymore. They're still trying. They're holding a little bit, but there's condos just popping up right in the central area. So I mean, I have a friend who's the one who developed and selling it. So I'm literally watching them. They're snatching up spots that locals are selling off, and they're quickly putting in things that they can, sell. And that's a little unfortunate, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, what can you do? It's like basically it's kind of, the whole demand situation of wanting to, so many people, foreigners trying to move to Mexico for various reasons. But I have so you had mentioned that you purchased a vehicle, which is a big deal in Mexico because you can't, if you're going to move to Mexico, you actually can't bring your vehicle in without paying a really huge
Yeah,
tax, import
yeah.
tax. Yeah. So, if you are planning to move to Mexico, the first thing they say is leave your vehicle. There are certain exceptions, but essentially, for the most part in the mainland, you leave your vehicle where you are and then you purchase in Mexico. So tell me what happened with you and how did you purchase? How did you even find a vehicle? What did you buy? Why did you buy it?
Well, as I mentioned, the city is a little farther away from central, PV. So as I started wanting to go back and forth, Uber wasn't working. And Uber and all those, they don't typically like going to Bucerias because it's so far away. So I got fed up with that. So having some friends that I knew in different parts of Mexico, Compostela, Tepic, Guadalajara, etc., I knew that there was some other, obviously, cities, and I kind of applied a little common sense. It's like, hey, we're in PV, we're where tourists are. Of course, the price is going to be a little higher or a lot higher. So I just ventured out away from where the tourists are and just shopped like a local. And the town of Compostela, which I love going to, as where I ended up finding a nice vehicle. Bought it for $5,000. I mean, I paid in pesos, but that's what it pretty much came to. Great vehicle, and I still have it to this day. It's so for me, going that route was the best thing ever. And what's interesting is that they say the rumors about everything can happen in Mexico. Like if you have the money, you can make it happen. Well, I hate to say it, but it's true. I mean, I got a driver's license by paying a guy to go in there into their local DMV, their version of a DMV, the registrar, and he got me my driver's license. I just walked into the lady, she had me sign, she printed it and gave it to me. And it cost me, I think, 1,200 pesos. I did the same thing with my vehicle. I got all the paperwork when I bought the vehicle from the local. A friend of mine, he helped me. He went to the registrar and we walked in there. He did everything, coordinated everything, and boom, got it licensed, the license plates, the registration, everything in my name. And at the time, I wasn't even a permanent resident. So that's what I find very interesting is all I had was my passport at the time. So I think I was only in Mexico maybe 4 or 5 months. So I was able to get a vehicle in registered in my name completely, just based on my passport. But again, I had somebody who knew somebody. And I think ideally, because I'm in a smaller town, a lot more things can happen. You can do a little bit more. So that helped. Now we did have to go to Topeka, which is their next biggest city, to get my license plates and things of that nature. But the whole paperwork process, all in a little town of their own little registrar, and had no problems.
Wow. That's incredible. And so how much did it cost you to like register the vehicle and all
Oh,
that kind of stuff?
you know what? I have a thing where when it doesn't cost very much, I don't even remember. It was literally that low. I kid you not. I don't mean to sound. It wasn't worth remembering. It was super low. It's like my insurance for the vehicle. You know, I have insurance through Intercam. Intercam has the banking system, but they also have an insurance branch. And I don't even remember what I pay for my insurance, and I have a full maximum, but it's so low, I don't even recall what I pay. I pay an annual, and it's still that low. So I wish I had give you the detail, but I don't remember. It was nothing. I'm sure I had more in my pocket than whatever it was. That's how low it was.
But that's great, and the fact that you had a friend of a friend, a local Mexican friend, to really help facilitate everything, I think is probably the
Oh,
key to all
absolutely.
of it.
No question. I have no question that my friend, he was actually my friend, and no question that he was the reason that I was able to get this done. We're still good friends to this day, and yeah, no question. There's no way you can everything I've been able to achieve and establish in Mexico was based on support and help from somebody I trusted, a local Mexicano that actually understood or knew somebody. And that is how pretty much I got everything except for the condo lease. Other than that, it was always based on somebody helping me because you have to learn how to navigate around there. Even it has nothing to do with knowing the language because that's not the case. The case is being able to understand their systems and being able to figure out who to talk to. Because one of the things I've learned living in Mexico is that a lot of the roles and positions are taken out of context, and people are assumed to be in certain roles they're really not. There are those who may come off as being in a certain role that they don't have the authority for. It's so much of that, so many layers. And then, without being too negative, there are those who will take money as if they have the capability and not actually deliver. So you have a lot of these different obstacles that you have to figure out. And having somebody that you can honestly trust who understands and understand because there's a difference between a local Mexicano and there's a difference between the process for a gringo. That is something that people don't understand. You can't go think you're going to do this because that's the way the locals do it. No, not all the rules are the same. There really are some differences based on who you are.
Right. It's not that different in the United States, so for better or for worse, right? I mean, it's all about who you know, knowing the system, knowing who knows the system. Yeah, right? If you really want to get stuff done. It's yeah. So I think that that's a really great learning lesson, and it's amazing, and you're so lucky to have learned that so early on, and that's probably because you're such a savvy traveler to begin with. Um, and then so then you decided to move to PV. And what did you do about your living
Yeah,
situation?
so I immediately found a great apartment. It's a condo. They call it a penthouse, and they're on the top floor. And so this particular place was, I did like everybody else does. You find a realtor, and some of the realtors they sell, and some rent or do both. So no difference. And I'm traveling around trying to figure out where I want to go. I stumbled on one particular place of interest and went from there. However, I knew I was going to at this point in time, like I said, I've been to Bucerias around 10 months, so I kind of knew I was going to stay in Vallarta for a good period of time. And I wanted to,
So this is
this
2020?
is late,
This is
no,
2021?
this is 2021 now. We're in 2021, early 2021 when I wanted to stay. Yeah, yes, early 2021. Um, and so, yeah, and that's a good point you say that because the peso value was a lot different than it is now. Right now, my banker, he just sent me something that says 16.5. Back then at the time, it was like 22. So, the dollar was much, much better. So the negotiations for me made it that much easier for me because what I was looking at paying in the rent and what I thought about the tenure of my time, clearly if I'm going to stay longer, give me a better deal. However, I also kind of felt maybe I live here. I really was starting to think about that. And I always kind of wanted like a vacation type home, even though I would be here a majority of the time. I never said I was going to live completely 100%. That never came into my mind. But I did know that it would be a majority of time I wanted to be here. So having my own place was definitely something I wanted to consider. So I kind of got creative. I mean, I'm just doing some things that I know from the States, and you buy a leased car like I have, sometimes you get tired of the car after 2 or 3 years, I don't give it back, or I lease and then I can keep it and you just pay a little bit more, a premium. So I threw the idea at the owner who happened to be interested in selling it because he had it since its evolution. So I
Oh, so this wasn't so this is this whole idea of lease to
Oh,
own was your
absolutely.
idea. It wasn't something that
Absolutely.
was.
This was my idea. You know what? I learned a long time ago. An old, long time girlfriend of mine told me once, closed mouth never get fed. Now, I know right now everybody says it, but I heard that back when I was like 17, 18. I never forgot it. Just ask. Just ask. And that's what I did. I figured I got nothing to lose. I'm like, hey, I think what I also knew was enticing him with double the rent was something that he was very intrigued with. Like already, his mortgage was probably, somewhere 60% what I'm paying in rent. Maybe even, he probably was, I'm giving him probably somewhere between 20 to 30% markup on rent. So now I'm throwing in another 100% on top of that. So this guy is going to be making money. And the guarantee is that not only am I paying him, but I might either one, I'm going to buy it, or two, I'm saying no thank you and I give it back and you just got, more rent. And for me, I mentioned this earlier that what I'm accustomed to paying for and what my budget was a lot higher. Again, the peso value at the time and what I budgeted for. So it wasn't really losing. I didn't feel I was losing anything. And again, this was a nice, secured penthouse, all the bells and whistles, modern furniture, modern everything, appliances, beautiful view. I could see Vallarta. I could see the convention center. I mean, it was like ideal. I loved the location. So it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. And yeah, so yeah,
What was the asking on it?
the price to sell it or rent.
To both.
To sell it, we had negotiated. He wanted at the time. That's funny. So at the time, he was asking for a little over 100, 130, 150. And I didn't do that because I mentioned earlier that I actually had an opportunity for something else that was right by where the cruise ships are for about the same amount. So that was like, no way, I'm going to do that. Interesting enough, when I actually gave the apartment back, it went back on the market for 210. So there you go, as far as value increase. But the rent was so the individual was asking at the time 20,000 pesos, and I'm like, come on, at that time with the value of the pesos and everything, I mean, no, I'm not paying 20,000 pesos. So we got it all the way down to around.
So 20,000 pesos was about how much in dollars?
At the time, it was a little over 600. It
Let
was a
me
little over
see.
six. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm getting back. That's what he's renting it now. I'm sorry. I'm getting totally confused. Now he's renting it because he asked me what's a good rate for the condo. He's renting it now for 20,000. When I came in, we were doing 12. No, 13. We had so much negotiation. I want to say
right.
yeah,
That
we're
makes more
doing
sense.
something like 12. I think it was 12,000 pesos, 12, 13.
At 20, it was about
Yeah,
$600.
it came for me. It was about $600. I ended up paying a little over 1,000, like 1,100 is what it ended up being my monthly. So, and I was totally okay with that. But now he's doing a lot more, clearly because of inflation. But yeah, it was. I loved it. Loved the area. Very secure, pool. All the bells and whistles, and I had the penthouse. So I mean, being new to Vallarta and not knowing a whole lot and still learning, that was a good place for me to be. And I was only 5 minutes from the airport, like 7 minutes, I think, literally, with lights.
It's ridiculous. So it was offered to you at 600, you offered to pay 1100 in order to do this deal, the lease to own, in which you would ask for 2 years. Is that
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then at the end of the 2 years, you would then make the decision whether or not you were going to buy.
absolutely, exactly right, exactly right. It was that simple, but
And then,
yeah, he just felt that I
sorry, go
lured
ahead.
him in with that extra amount of money.
Yeah, no, it's great, right? So then he doesn't feel like he lowers his risk, and he still has cash flow,
Right.
right? Because you're still paying him every single month, and then at the end of 2 years. So when was the end of 2 years, and what happened, and why did you choose not to take the
So the end of 2 years ended in November of last year, and I chose not to because those of your listeners, if they know, remember the earthquake that happened that mid year. I don't recall because I actually was not there. I happened to be traveling, and I wasn't in Vallarta, so it's not something that sunk into my head. But I want to say it was somewhere in June, July, I think. I don't recall. But that big earthquake that happened, multiple earthquakes. It was like 7.5, 7.2, then it went to 6 point something. I heard it was like 3 or 4 of them. But that earthquake created some structural damage. I can go get something else. I know the place a lot better now, like the back of my hand. I know places that are, off the path, the normal path where you can get a nice location. And also, at this point, because I'm fairly comfortable living in Mexico, my Spanish is fairly good. I have multiple friends. I don't have to live in the marina. It's a matter of just, being wise with my money, regardless of, the price and all that. I just wanted to find something that was just going to be comfortable.
Yeah. Which is great, right? And I think that that's a huge lesson for people to hear about how critical it is to make sure that the developer is a solid developer, that they're doing the extra work when they're building the buildings. Because, like you said, most people will try to cut
Yeah,
corners. And so yeah, there again, it goes to like having someone you trust, whether it's your realtor or your friend or somebody who knows the developer, whatever it may be, but to really do your homework, I think, is the important
absolutely.
thing,
You
right?
have to. You can't meet somebody and not somebody's a realtor or a reference of a realtor because they have in Mexico, they have that 1% finder's fee that they do. And pretty much everybody who can probably speak English as well as Spanish is probably, either part-time or full-time realtors. I can't even tell you. I've lost track of how many realtors I know at BV. But I say that because the more you educate yourself and talk and get to understand how things are done, the more you'll start hearing about the reputations of developers. And there's some that are really good and there's some that are not so good. You don't see it so much now, but there are still out there where you see buildings that are half done. Get to understand how the developers are, and you realize that a lot of developers kind of pay as they go. They'll get the land, they start groundwork, they get the plans, they put up the models, and then they start selling, and they're trying to sell as much as they can. It hasn't started because they need the money and the capital to continue going. They may have some investment, but the full, vision won't come to fruition until they've been able to sell everything. And to me, that's a little on the risky side. So to find a developer who already has a past reputation, has a wealth of capital, investors or whatever, has built multiple divisions. I mean, that's typically where you want to try to find yourself looking. And it's unfortunate because in Mexico, they value their properties different than they do in the States. Here, my home here, I want to know how much it's valued. I just look at my neighbor or a similar house within my same street. You get a medium. There, obviously, it's based on whatever the developer wants. And he starts here, and here's the price. And every so often, like every 2 months, he goes up 10%. So it's best to get something at ground level, which is risky.
Right. Right. You better you better know who you're doing business with, basically.
Absolutely. And direct, not through third parties. Oh my goodness, the nightmares I've heard about third party sales, the thefts that happen through that. I mean, and it doesn't. And again, this is not to bash anybody, and this is not to scare anybody, but it's the reality because I have a personal friend who lost a lot of money, and the person who took the money was a broker. How can you not trust the broker? So that's an unfortunate circumstance when a broker takes the money and disappears.
That's crazy. I mean, that must be rare though, too, because there's a lot of, I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like as a broker, there's a lot of legal risk that that person's taking, and that person's not, I mean, it's, I don't know. I just feel like there's a money trail that can easily lead to that person. And,
not in Mexico. Not in Mexico. That's the thing. Not in Mexico, especially if you're a gringo. You're not going to get hardly anybody's going to go after the person. And you got to remember, Mexico's a big, big country. You got, you have such and such person. The name is going to be fairly common, and he or she can disappear anywhere in Mexico, and you'll never see him again. And nobody's going to go chase him because you're a gringo. So they're not worried about you and your money that they feel that you can just go and get more of. So no, nothing happened. The person disappeared, and there's not much legal ramifications. And that's the truth. If you want to go and find a lawyer and sell him or her and chase that guy, you might as well just give me the money because you're not going to get anything out of that. I promise you. The lawyer is going to take your money. He or she will definitely say they'll give it their best effort, but you're not going to find that person. That money's gone. That person's gone.
yeah,
And
so
that's
I guess,
unfortunate.
yeah, well, I guess that then that really leads to knowing who you're dealing. So it's not only the developer, but if you are, hire a real estate broker or a lawyer or whatever, you want to do your homework across the board. And I think that that's one good thing about having a established, foreigner community is that I think word of mouth also travels very fast, right? When
Absolutely.
bad, pardon my French, when bad shit happens, I think that word travels pretty quickly. So I
It
think
does.
that having that community of people is really critical as well, and doing your homework. But I think like doing your homework is such the theme to this conversation because you can get screwed in so many ways, but but you can also get incredible deals, and you can also live an incredible life living down there as well, right?
Amazing locations are everywhere. And you don't have to restrict yourself to PV. I mean, on the outskirts, up north, down south. It's just unfortunate that the economy is changing and things are getting a little more costly. And I'm telling people, look, Mexico's a big place. Now, I'm not saying go, 300 kilometers inland because no, that's a little insane because now you're going to be neighbors with narcos, etc. Locals who are not going to be, are not open-minded, I would say. They don't need your money like a tourist would, so it's going to be dynamics will be a little different. But you can still find really good homes within 20-mile kilometers inland, up and down the coast. That even goes going as far north up to Sinaloa. I know Sinaloa has a very bad reputation, but I have a lot of friends that live up there. I went up there. I drove north with some friends, and we went up to Sinaloa, hung out there for about 4 days, and I didn't feel anything that I felt it was concern. Again, the entire country is evolving based on tourism. So the last thing they want is to build that reputation. And to be very honest, there is a hands-off, concept that exists. So the narcos are Fortune 500. I mean, they're operating hotels, businesses, etc. So they understand. They're not. Why would they want to hurt the hand that feeds them? So, like I said, as long as you stay within a 20-mile radius inland, up and down the coast, it's an amazing country. Amazing country.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, because you still are going there quite often. Um, so now you're looking at a new place, right? And you have a unique situation or opportunity for
Yeah.
housing for your next place. Is that right? So have you already, is this deal already done or you're still
Well, I
in?
have the keys. I have the keys. I'm going to stay there. Back in PV tomorrow, and I will be staying there. I am turning on the Total Play, the Wi-Fi, the cable, and all that in my name. Um, I have. This is still technically my friend's house, who does not want it at all. Paid in full, but does not want it. So I don't know. Part of it is like, okay, I'll help you out. I'll take it off your hands. The other part is, I don't know. We'll see. So I'm not gonna say it's a done deal because honestly, I still want to stay in it. He keeps, telling me it's small, small, small. I don't need a whole lot because I'm not doing like I used to do where I was there pretty much every day for, months at a time. Now I'm kind of, 2 months and then I go back to the States or to another country. So I don't necessarily need a lot of space. At this point in time, because of the friends that I developed, the golfing that I do, going downtown, going to the romantic zone, whatever I end up, doing, seeing shows, it's pretty much mostly just a place to sleep. So at this point in time, because of the people I know and bars I go to, I'm hardly going to be there. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess the beauty of it is I'm in no rush. I'm not. There's no pressure. It's not going anywhere. That's another benefit of having property in Mexico. You don't have the property taxes that are enormous that we have here in the States, specifically me talking from California, which is why I left. But just the ideally speaking that you can buy a property and sit on it forever and you literally doesn't impact your checkbook. I mean, it just doesn't. So again, there's no rush.
Right, right. And that's great. So that when you go, you do know that you have a place to stay. And
Yeah,
I mean, that's huge, right? N- it's not a
absolutely. Yeah,
vacation spot.
yeah, it's a pain in the butt to try to figure out where you're going to live. Is it low season? Is it high season? Maybe I'll wait till low season. Yeah, no. If you just have your place, make the investment, proper investment, and then you can just have something. And you know what? And even if you're not there all the time, you obviously can have friends who can get you a keypad, one of them keypad locks, where you just give them a code and. Have a friend stay over the weekend. Doesn't cost anything to have a housekeeper that you trust come in, clean up, and leave. 300 pesos, 400 pesos, and it's a done deal. And, something that can just stay in the family. That was kind of my thought and my dream was that I was going to have something that is sort of in a family trust. My kids can always have a vacation place. I have a place. Maybe some cousins, depending on who they are. And just a and it's something that just stays in the family. Not looking to rent, not Airbnb, just having something that for your family members can go to visit this beautiful place. And it's
That's amazing.
simple.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. So I am want to be respectful of your time, but I do have a question because I know that you've gotten your permanent residency, which is a big deal for many people. And I'm just wondering for someone who wasn't looking to like live there permanently, 100% of the time, what inspired you to get that? And what was that process like for you? And what were what are the benefits of having permanent residency now that you have it, even though you're not there 100% of the time?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. I was surprised at how much it kind of continued to grow because my original reason was related to thinking if I buy someplace, I want to be able to not have to pay all those taxes and fees and everything. So that was originally why, in the back of my mind, I need to get this. So to give you the idea of the process
So let me ask
is,
you though, let me just interrupt you. So if you are not a permanent resident or if you're not a temporary resident, you have to pay extra taxes. Is that right?
yeah, but yeah, remember I mentioned how all those fees turned that 125 condo to a 230 something condo based on all the taxes and foreign taxes and everything. When I fly on an airplane coming here, when I fly, the taxes are on the airline. They charge a tourist tax. So all of these things are the difference between having a permanent resident versus you being a temporary or just a tourist. Because temporary still doesn't give you much status. It's that permanent status is what you need. And there's two ways of getting that. One is you have to have a certain amount of money in your bank account, and it has to be consistent for 1 year as a minimum. Because basically Mexico doesn't want people coming to their country and basically either taking jobs or just, I guess, feeding off their economy in a way where you're taking from them, I guess. So they want to make sure that if you're going to be in their country for status, they want you to have the financial capability. So that's one option. You have to show bank records, and you have to go to the States, to the Mexican consulate, show all that with your passport. They verify all the banking stuff. They look at it and they make sure that minimum, I can't remember what it is, it changes so often, and it has to be for 1 year. That's option one. Other option is where most of those who get permanent resident is retired. So they have that deposit that shows for 6 months. That deposit, if I remember last time I saw it, it was somewhere around $4,300. That minimum has to be shown every month for 6 months, and that's the other way. And same situation, you get stamped, and you basically bring it back to Mexico. Puerto Vallarta over there by the pirate ship place is where the office is, and you go in there and they just, check everything. You already have the stamp. It's in your passport. You just got to show it, do something else, take a picture, and then boom, 2 weeks, week and a half, you get that nice green permanent resident card. Now, the benefits, let's see here. I don't have to wait in line when I come in the PV. When I fly in, I can go in the other line. I'm in and out really fast. That's pretty cool. Don't have to pay foreign tax. Airlines don't charge me tourist tax. I get refunds for all of that, which is a big chunk on your ticket when you buy a ticket. And then there's also some things in Mexico where you're able to have certain type of bank accounts. I have bank accounts where because when you have just a passport, you're limited to Intercam, which is where most gringos go, which is right across from the marina area. Where you have your permanent resident card, you can go get a bank account at Santander, BBVA, Bancomer, all those other places. Not to say that's an advantage or not. I mean, to be honest, I still don't even know which bank is better. But for me, that was the beginning steps to my ultimate goal. And my ultimate goal was to get credit in Mexico. And this was where the dynamics changed. As a gringo, to finance, you're going to pay if you finance. Because now, I don't know if people know this, back when I first got there, you can go and pay cash. I want this condo, you pay cash. A lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans did that. Well, Mexico caught on and said, look, we're losing a lot of money. You have to finance now. So now what's happening is you're financing through either Intercam or you're financing through your own bank. You're coming over here and you're financing through your own private to come purchase something. Now, most banks will not finance for Mexico. But you can go through, there's pass-through banks that will do that, Intercam specifically. That's one of the reasons why Intercam is so popular. The problem with that is you're going to pay double tax because now America, I don't know about Canada, I don't know anything about Canada, but I know in the States, they're going to tax you twice because they know you have a property there because you just tapped your credit and you just told them that you're buying a place in Mexico. So so when you file your taxes, you got to pay for that. Oh, guess what? But you're also paying for your taxes in Mexico as well because Mexico wants their money. So to me, that was insane. So I had to figure out a way. I'm not going to do that, which is why I got Mexican credit. This is going back to who you know. That's what this goes to. I was just fortunate enough to date somebody, or not date somebody, to a friend of mine who was dating somebody who knew the main person and I call it their version of Social Security. It's like a hacienda. I can't remember the term they use, but It's like their version of Social Security. So my friend's girlfriend, and we all hung out, and she was very close friends with the person at the head level. And this is what literally what happened. I already had asked them, can she help me? So she said, no problem. Next thing I know it, they tell me to go to this location at this time. I have no idea where I'm at. I have no idea. This is MPV, but what I mean by all I know is a federal building or their government building. I'm going to call it a government building. Line is that people are outside all over the place. Inside is crowded. But for some reason, when I stepped in, somebody knew me or knew of me, pulled me to the side. I go to the sidewalk. Young lady speaks perfect English, local Mexican girl who's working there. She helps, puts me on a computer. She literally helps me do the questionnaire, like almost doing it for me. And then says, okay, let's go over here. Sits me down, says, wait here. I think I waited 10 minutes, comes and gets me, walks me to another location. I sign some paperwork. She says, give me your paperwork, go sit down again. I think I waited another 15 minutes. I go to this office. There's this guy there, and he's going through my papers. Next thing I know it, he's stamping, like this seal stamp, like boom, 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 sign, 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 hands me the papers and said, you're good to go. And I'm sitting here going, what, like I was actually stuttering. Like I was seriously stuttering. Like, am I done? Like this is it? He goes, you're good. So I didn't want to, this guy's obviously a busy man because this place is crowded, like crowded. So I'm thinking, you know what? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like profuse, I'm saying thank you. And then I leave because I'm going to just pepper questions to my friend. And she's like, yeah, you're good. You're done. So literally I got I wish I could remember what they call it, but I got the number, which is our equivalent of like a tax ID. And basically now I can get credit. So let me tell you why that's unique. Because in Mexico, they don't give credit any local Mexicans, they're charging 20%. They're charging, you want to get a car, you're paying 25%. And the gringo, they don't care if you have money. You can show your bank account saying, here's my bank account. Like, why would you charge? They don't care. You either pay cash or you're going to pay 20% interest. But if you get credit there, and just like any place else, just like in the States, you prove yourself, you make payments, it goes down. Well, that was my objective. So I ran off, got a bank visa. I have Capel. I got, I just started getting department store cards because, I can make the payments. It's not a problem, easy, but I wanted to show that I can do that. And sure enough, my credit's going up, everything's going up. Now I can finance. And so that is the ultimate plan. I'm still working on it because they say it takes about a year. I only started this process about 9 months ago. When you get there, then you can finance condos, homes, cars, and here's the unique thing. There's no limit. In the States, your credit capacity will limit you from financing. You know that. So I can't go and get a house and then turn around and get another house. Or, it's like, no, your income is only here. You can't max yourself. Not in Mexico. They don't care. Because the moment you don't make a payment, you get red flag, and you will take you our term of act of Congress to be able to come out of it. So Mexico says, once we give you that credit, you can go get whatever you want. And if you outmax yourself, that's on you, and you're not getting it back for, like I said, act of Congress. So you're saying that I can go get a condo, I can get a house, and I can go get a car all at the same time, as long as I know I can make the monthly payments at my low interest rate because I earned that. Yep. Okay.
That's a
So
great strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where did you learn all this stuff? Just talking to people?
I think it's just honestly talking to people. Honestly, I think I pick up I'm always talking. I'm always learning, the real estate, the banking, I'm just always trying to. I'm an educator as well as somebody who educates. So for me, knowledge has always been power, which is why I have all my degrees, which is why I'm always, studying. I'm always trying to understand. I want to understand, and if I'm going to be a part of this country, if I'm going to be living here, it was a matter of truly trying to figure out the system, truly trying to figure out how you maneuver yourself. And then again, it also comes by who you know. We mentioned that earlier. So finding trustworthy people, finding people who are honest. And oh, here's the thing. I did have to pay, by the way. I had to pay my friend who paid the other person who paid the big guy at the end of the day. So it wasn't like they didn't get compensated because you do have to pay them for helping you out. So it was something that ended up being, out of my pocket. But
Which I think is fair, though.
considering,
If
oh,
they're
absolutely.
providing a service, right?
Oh, they're government employees, so technically they're getting paid. But I got to go in front of the. Well, first of all, usually they say that an appointment like that would take about 3 to 6 months. I got it in a week. So I got moved to the front of the line, and then I got the VIP expedited super duper plus customer service because I was in and out of there within 45 minutes. And people were, like I said, the line was out the door with locals. So
Amazing.
I had to demonstrate that I was very appreciative.
Wow. Wow. So as we wrap this up then, any final advice? People who want to take this path that you've taken, who maybe they don't really want to live in Mexico full time. They want to kind of create this balance of, traveling around. Uh, is there kind of anything that kind of comes to mind that you can really recommend or advise people on?
Yeah, I would say that my thing is this, if, I get that we have a certain economic level that makes it easy for us to travel. And like myself, I go to different countries, and the economic level is obviously much lower. But I would still put in a little work of understanding how you're spending your money. That would only help you be able to have much more flexibility. Don't just take the first thing you see. A lot of times just go online, Airbnb, that's a lot cheaper than what we pay here, and you just jump on it. But the thing is that if you just apply a little bit more work or leverage some local resources, maybe not have to live in the marina, maybe live a little bit outside of the area, balance it with transportation, balance with what your interests are. If you do just apply a little bit more effort and understanding your dynamics in the geographic area, you would probably find you're going to enjoy yourself a lot more. And I say that because, one, you can probably keep it going. You don't have to actually feel like you have to, structure a budget around it, because it can be something that you could say, hey, you know what? Let's jump on a plane and just go to Puerto Vallarta. It could be that simple if you actually just take on the proper measures. I think that's probably what I would want to tell people, because not everybody's going to, not everybody's retired, and maybe Vallarta is not the place. Again, I go to other areas, it's harder to get to the Asian continents because it's completely a day and a half away travel. So, I do that sparingly, but once I get there, oh my goodness, I stay a while because, one, I want to leverage the trip, but two, the economics is even wider. Philippines is like, right now is 60-1 compared to, like, Vallarta is 16-1, and then you got Thailand is like 40-1. So, I mean, you go to the Philippines, oh my goodness, you can get a beachfront condo, and I've already seen and done the homework, and it's even better. So just do your research and homework, and find somebody who's knowledgeable and have them help you navigate.